They went to church on
Yes.
Sunday.
And did you believe in God?
Oh, yes.
Do you now believe in God?
Now, difficult to answer. I know. I don't need to believe. I know.
Right now, as you watch this, you are living inside a carefully constructed prison. The bars aren't made of steel. They're made of expectations, conditioning, and the desperate need to be accepted. That restless feeling you get when you are alone with your thoughts. That nagging sense that you are playing a role instead of living your life. It is not weakness. It is your authentic self screaming to break free from a cage you didn't even know you built. Here is the devastating truth that will shatter everything you thought you knew about yourself. The person you think you are isn't real. It is a carefully crafted performance designed to keep you safe, accepted, and utterly disconnected from your true power. But what if I told you that this prison has a key, and you've been carrying it all along? Let me ask you something personal. When was the last time you said exactly what you were thinking without filtering it through the question, "What will they think of me?" When did you last make a decision based purely on what felt right to you, not what seemed expected or safe? If you are struggling to answer, you are not alone. Most people live their entire lives wearing what psychologist Carl Jung called the persona, a mask so convincing that even they forget it is not their real face. This mask starts forming the moment you realize that certain parts of you get approval, while others get rejection. Think back to childhood. Remember the first time someone told you to be realistic, when you shared a dream, or when you were told to stop being too sensitive, when you expressed genuine emotion. Each time this happened, a piece of your authentic self went into hiding. You learned that survival meant becoming who others needed you to be. Here is what is really happening. You've become so skilled at being the right version of yourself that you've forgotten who you actually are underneath it all, the terrifying part. This mask isn't just affecting your happiness, it is stealing your life force. Every day you spend performing, instead of being, is a day your true self withers a little more. The depression, anxiety, and that persistent feeling of emptiness aren't character flaws. They're your soul's way of telling you that you are living someone else's life. But here is where it gets even more disturbing. While you've been busy perfecting your acceptable self, all those rejected parts of you didn't disappear. They went underground, forming what Jung called the shadow, and it has been running your life from behind the scenes. Have you ever had an intense, irrational dislike of someone and couldn't figure out why? Or found yourself repeatedly attracted to the same type of toxic situation? That is your shadow talking. The qualities you despise in others are often the exact qualities you've banished within yourself. I once knew someone who couldn't stand attention seekers. She would roll her eyes at anyone who seemed to enjoy being in the spotlight. But when we dug deeper, we discovered that as a child, she had been repeatedly told to stop showing off whenever she expressed joy or excitement. She had buried her natural exuberance so deep that seeing it in others triggered rage. The shadow isn't your enemy. It is your greatest untapped resource. Every quality you've rejected contains a gift you desperately need. That anger you've suppressed. It contains your power to set boundaries. That selfishness you are ashamed of. It holds your ability to prioritize your own needs. That darkness you are afraid to acknowledge. It is where your depth and authenticity live. Most people spend their lives running from their shadow. But what if I told you that embracing it is the key to becoming whole? Right now, there is a battle raging inside you that you might not even be aware of. It is the conflict between who you think you should be and who you actually are. This isn't just psychological theory, it is showing up in your daily life in ways that might shock you. Do you find yourself constantly second-guessing your decisions? That is the war between your authentic desires and your programmed responses. Do you feel exhausted after social interactions, even positive ones? That is the energy drain of maintaining a performance instead of simply being yourself. Jung believed that within every person exists opposing forces, what he called the anima and animus. These aren't about gender, they're about the balance of different energies within you, the receptive and the assertive, the intuitive and the logical, the creative and the structured. When these forces are at war instead of working together, you feel torn in half. You might be someone who is incredibly successful professionally, but feels emotionally empty. Or perhaps you are deeply creative but struggle to bring structure to your dreams. This internal conflict isn't a design flaw. It is a sign that you haven't integrated all parts of yourself. The moment you stop trying to be perfect and start trying to be whole, everything changes. Here is what the self-help industry won't tell you. You don't need to become someone new. You don't need to add more to yourself. You need to stop pretending to be less than you actually are. Every workshop, course, and program that promises to make you into a better version of yourself is built on a fundamental lie, that you are somehow broken or incomplete. But what if the problem isn't that you need more skills, more confidence, or more success? What if the problem is that you've been taught to abandon the very parts of yourself that hold your greatest power? I watch people spend thousands of dollars trying to find their purpose when their purpose has been whispering to them for years. They just learned to silence it because it didn't fit into their idea of what was practical or acceptable. Think about the dreams you had as a child before the world taught you to be realistic. Consider the activities that make you lose track of time. Pay attention to what makes you angry. It often points to what you most care about. These aren't random. They're breadcrumbs leading back to your authentic self. The life you are seeking isn't waiting for you in the future. It is buried under layers of conditioning in the present. So how do you escape this prison you've been living in? How do you reconnect with the parts of yourself you've been taught to hide? It is not about positive thinking or vision boards. It is about archaeological work on your own psyche. First, start paying attention to your reactions. When someone irritates you, ask yourself, what quality in them am I rejecting in myself? When you feel envious, dig deeper. What are they expressing that I've forbidden myself to have? These emotional reactions are your shadow talking, showing you exactly what you need to reclaim. Second, create space for silence. Your authentic self speaks in whispers, not shouts. It is the voice that gets drowned out by the constant noise of obligations, expectations, and distractions. Start with just 5 minutes a day of complete silence. No phone, no music, no mental to-do lists. Just you and the voice you've been running from. Third, experiment with expressing the parts of yourself you've kept hidden. If you've always been the nicest person, practice saying no without explanation. If you've been the strong one, allow yourself to be vulnerable. If you've been the responsible one, give yourself permission to be spontaneous. This isn't about becoming someone else. It is about becoming more of who you've always been underneath the performance. But here is the final truth that changes everything. You were never actually lost. The self you've been searching for has been there all along, patient and waiting. Every mistake you've made, every wrong turn, every moment of suffering, it was all leading you back to yourself. Jung discovered something profound. The process of finding yourself isn't about achievement or accumulation. It is about integration. It is about bringing the light and the dark, the acceptable and the forbidden, the conscious and the unconscious into a single, coherent whole. When you stop fighting with yourself, when you stop trying to be perfect and start trying to be real, something miraculous happens. You discover that you have access to resources you never knew existed, the creativity you thought you'd lost, the confidence you thought you never had, the peace you thought required perfect circumstances. The person you are meant to be isn't hiding in the future. They're hiding in the present, underneath the layers of conditioning and fear. Life doesn't truly begin until you find yourself. And now you know the way. The choice is yours. You can continue living as a fragment of who you could be, safe in your familiar prison. Or you can do the work, uncomfortable, messy, terrifying work, of becoming whole. Your authentic self is calling. The question is, are you finally ready to answer?